Welcome back to Roosevelt Live. Recently, on June 19th, Manute Bowles, NBA basketball player, passed away. He was actually relatively young. He was only 47 years old. And he had some type of kidney issue going on. And I guess an acute kidney failure, what it said about him. So he passed away. But one thing that was unique about Manute Bowles was that he came into the league after, because he came from Sudan, and he came into the NBA in 1985. And one of the unique things with the guy, he was 7'7". At that time, he was known as the tallest player ever played in the league at that point. And in his rookie season, he actually blocked some 397 shots out of 80 games, which was a rookie record at the time, and it may still stand today. But one of the reasons why I'm bringing him up, not just because he was an NBA basketball player, but because he did a lot of things for his country. Long before we heard about the Brad Pitts and we heard about the George Clooney's, there was Manute Bowles out there spending his NBA salary on schools and education back in his home area of Sudan. And that's important because most people would not spend money. He didn't make a whole bunch of money in NBA standards today, but he spent like some $3.5 million on education and other programs trying to help the children and stuff. He taught them basketball and other things that he tried to do to educate the people back in his country. And from what I could read and find out about the guy, he was well liked around the league. And back in 2004, when he was in a car wreck and got his neck broken because the cab driver allegedly was intoxicated when Manute was coming back from one of the WNBA games, and the guy flipped the car over and he got ejected from the vehicle, and I think he broke 3 vertebrae in his neck, and from there he had a major rehab because it was a point where he couldn't use his hands, so he had nerve damage, and but through it all, I remember the article saying that he was still felt that he was fortunate because he was able to do the things for the people that he loved doing things for, and he was just, from all accounts that I could read about the guy, he seemed to be an all-around good person. I obviously don't know him myself, but from all the people around the league and stuff that has addressed his issues, seen it, thought that he was a pretty good guy. And I know Charles Barkley made some comments about him, said that the world would be definitely going to be less of a place, I'm paraphrasing, without Manute Bowles being here. And he comes from a family of tall people. I think his mother was listed at about 6'10", and I think his father was 6'8", he had a sister 6'8", and he even had it that his grandfather, and this is what it said, I have no knowledge of it, but his grandfather was listed as 7'10". That's definitely not the tallest person in the world, but that is a tall person. And he leaves behind, I believe, 5 children. And he has a 16-year-old son that's already 6'7". So it's definitely the size is carrying on. And I assume that the world will miss a person like that. Seeing he had a big heart and really wanted to do some of the things that was needed. And I know he was offered a job, an ambassadorship, I think, back in his home country, but he declined it because I think at the time that it required him to be of a different religion, and I think he was of the Christianity faith, and he wanted to remain that way. So at one time he was not prepared to leave the country, and he finally got some help and was able to get out of the country and come back to the United States, where even though he couldn't play basketball anymore, he did like other events, boxing events. I think he had a boxing match against the refrigerated pair that used to play for the Super Bowl champion in 1985 Chicago Bears. But he said in articles that he did all these different events and all these things to raise money so he could use money back in his own country. So he seemed to never been thinking of himself, but always thinking of how he could better the people that was in the poor and less fortunate areas. And it's funny because I realized that his father named him Manute because that actually means special blessing. So obviously his family put some thought into his name, and so now he's already passed away. I think he got funeral services coming up. I believe in the D.C. area where he was living. I believe he was living in Virginia at the time. So I think his burial plan is for the 29th of this month. So if people that is not familiar with the guy, he was drafted in the league back in 1985 by the Washington Washington Bullets at the time they called themselves, before they changed their name to the Wizards, because the owner of the Washington Bullets said he didn't like the word bullet because he felt like it was a negative when it came to gangs and stuff like that. So he changed it from the Bullets to the Wizards for people that didn't know, didn't maybe have that knowledge about the Wizards. But he played for them as well as the 76ers and the Golden State Warriors. He played for several teams around the league. And Manute was known for the phrase "my bad." He's always used it after throwing up those 3-pointers. But sometimes he was pretty good with those 3-pointers. I mean, one game he hit 6 out of 12, which is 50%. And if you're a 3-point shooter, if you hit 50% of your 3-point shot, you've done well. And to see a guy 7'7" throwing up 3-pointers, and sometimes 2 and 3 feet behind the 3-point line, and in some cases hitting them in a row. So apparently he was a pretty good guy from all accounts. And people that's in the basketball world will know who he is, and people that's not in the basketball world maybe still knew who he was because he was such a tall figure at 7'7" and 225 pounds. I can only imagine standing next to somebody that tall. But that's just a bit of information out there for the people that didn't know. It's just a story that I want to bring to your attention for the day. If you do have comments about that or any other event, you can always feel free to email me at liveroosevelt@gmail.com, or you can go ahead and check out the other segments of the show. It's about 8 weeks or so video out there, and I'm confident that there's be some new stuff out there this week. So if you go out there to YouTube/Roosevelt Live, you can check out all the different shows and send me an email whether you like it or you dislike it, or even email me and tell me about some topics maybe you want me to talk about that you would like to hear. So you know how to find me out there. These are just opinions. Some of them is facts and some of them opinions. Tell me yours.